Welcome to biology. This is the first lecture that you guys are going to have in this class. It's going to be focusing on basically what the idea is or what biology is, as well as three things that make a scientist incredibly important. Now I'm going to put up what biology is, so in the next slide you're going to see, you might want to pause the video and jot down the notes, the first part of the notes. What is biology? Biology is the study of life, with the prefix bio meaning life, and the suffix ology meaning the study of. Biology looks to explain organisms, where they came from, and how they work. Essentially, biology is this, it's the study of living organisms and their interactions, both that we can see, not see, explain, all sorts of things. Ever wonder why a bird flies? That's biology. If you ever wondered why a cheetah runs so fast? That's biology. You ever wondered why you like pit bulls? That's biology. It goes into explain all sorts of things. Many of you who are athletes, biology is crucial to being able to understand the human body as well as the muscles involved in terms of physical performance. Musicians, same thing. Wind, diaphragm, those are all muscles that go along into it. Biology even goes so far as to explain your very moods and interactions, why your brain is the way you are, why you may be attracted to certain body types, and why you suddenly are groaning that you have to do homework every night in biology. All of that is basically within the science, and by the end of the term, you guys will be able to explain most of all of these things. And if you really like it, you could be a junior biologist when you get older, or even a full-blown biologist. Now, the next part I'm going to talk about is what makes a good scientist. I'm going to give you the first one, and so you're going to want to pause right, and I'll kind of talk over it. But then I'll get into three things that make a scientist really, really good and above your average person. Now, you already have the what is biology, so I'm going to skip to number 2. What makes a good scientist or biologist? You must be very good at observations. And an observation is gaining information from the 5 senses, such as sight, taste, smell, touch, and sound. Now, the power of observation is an incredibly important tool for several reasons. First off, it's what tells us about the world around us. If I was to remove your sense of touch, taste, sight, smell, sound, not only would you be a very boring individual, but you would not be able to recognize that there is a world around you. Because of that, you would not be able to interact or explain. Now, the power of observation is incredibly important in the sense of that if I was to look at something, the more general I make an object, the less power my observation has. For example, I look at this cup and I say, this cup is blue. That's great, but if I came up to you and said, find the blue cup in the room, and it was filled with blue cups, you'd have no idea what I'm talking about. So we have to make our observations very, very, very specific. And you'll be doing an example lab with this tomorrow to practice how specific observations you can make. Now, the next slide I'm going to put up is going to be going into the other two, and they're a little bit more complex. The second thing a scientist needs to be very good is they have to be creative. Try new experiments to gain information. The third thing is they need to see everything as a learning chance. Every experiment reveals something new or proves something existing. A scientist is never wrong. Instead, a scientist asks, did they get the results and why not? So, being creative. Try new experiments to gain information. If we just did the same experiments over and over and over again, knowledge would never be new. We'd never have iPads, we'd never have iPhones, we'd never have droids, we'd never have cars. Nothing of this would exist. Status quo. Scientists, you always have to be trying new things, trying new experiments, seeing if what's currently believed is true, such as the world is round, or seeing if what, or potentially exploring some new pioneer, space travel. All of that comes around from being creative, trying something new and not being afraid of getting it wrong. And that ties in with what we had our second point here, is see everything as a learning chance. A scientist is never truly wrong. You can misname or misdescribe something. So for example, if I took my handy cup here again, or even better, if I took this here and said this is the skeleton of a cat, You'd all look at me funny. You think I'm crazy. You think I shouldn't be teaching you biology at all. Why? Because I've misnamed this. And you may run into hiccups along the way as we go through the course. You'll be required to name certain things and correctly name them. But in terms of an experiment, if I design an experiment to see if a bird's wing is the reason it flies, just because it flaps its wings, and I put big wings on me and I start flapping and I don't fly, was I wrong? Not at all. I was not wrong at all. Merely I found out that that was not a potential reason. And so from there, I could be creative and come up with a new idea. Maybe it's the shape of the wing. Maybe it's the diet. Things like that allow it. So as you go through this course, take comfort in that when in doing experiments, you're never truly wrong as long as you can justify or show what something new is or why not. An example that would have been was Jonas Salk, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Your discussion question for tomorrow is going to be this, not that, this. Your discussion question is as follows. When was a time that you learned something from something that was unexpected? I should type that, shouldn't I? When was the time that you learned something from something that was unexpected? You had a desired idea and it came out wrong and you learned something about yourself or about the world around you. The most common example is the stove, where you anticipated touching the hot stove wouldn't hurt and you learned that it was hot. You did not expect it, but you burning yourself learned it. You cannot use the stove example tomorrow, but I expect that. Thank you, and until tomorrow, have a good day.